It's the first time in 2,000 years that the land is being restored to the Jewish people. The year following the Shmitah was September 1917 to September 1918. The Balfour Declaration takes place in November 1917. Thus, the land is restored to the Jewish people in the year following the Shmitah, corresponding to the Jubilee. It's a prophetic Jubilee, and according to the mystery, the Jewish people now would return home to the land they had lost, to their father's possession, to their ancestral homeland. Everyone shall return to their possession. The mystery of the Jubilee concerns the seventh Shmitah. So what happens if we move forward in time from the Shmitah of 1917, 49 years to come to the seventh Shmitah? What is the seventh Shmitah? It brings us to the Shmitah of September 1965 to September 1966. The year following the Shmitah would begin September 1966 and end September 1967. Did anything significant take place within that year and within those dates? Any event of restoration? The answer is yes. According to Bible prophecy, the Jewish people have to be restored not only to their homeland, but also to their ancient holy city of Jerusalem. In the midst of the Six-Day War, Israeli soldiers enter the Lion's Gate of the biblical city of Jerusalem. Through gunfire, they make their way to the holiest site in Judaism, the Western Wall. There they weep. And after 2,000 years, the Jewish people are restored to their ancient capital, Jerusalem. It happens on June 7th, 1967. Within the parameters of the year ending in September 1967, the year following the seventh Shmitah, the Jubilee. The seventh Shmitah had ushered in the second restoration of the land. According to the mystery of the seventh Shmitah, the Jewish people had returned to what they lost 2,000 years before, Jerusalem. They had regained their long-lost possession and returned to their ancestral home. The two great restorations of the land each happened according to the mystery.
The Bible ordains that in the year of the Jubilee, the shofar, the ram's horn, is to be sounded. The first thing that happens after the soldiers reached the Temple Mount in 1967 is that the ram's horn is sounded from the Temple Mount, the sound of the Jubilee.
The man who sounds it is Rabbi Shlomo Goren. Rabbi Goren was born in the year 1917, the time of the other restoration. When he sounds the shofar, he is 50 years old, the number of the Jubilee.
The mystery of the Shmitah lies behind the two great end-time restorations of Israel's lands. What would be the seventh Shmitah from the last restoration?
The seventh Shmitah begins September 2014, goes to September 2015. The year following the seventh Shmitah is that of September 2015 to September 2016. In the last two occurrences, it has meant war in the Middle East, war in the land of Israel, and a war resulting in a prophetic restoration. If it follows the cycle, if it follows this, the last two times, what it has been, each one has meant a war in the Middle East. It was World War I, and then it was the Six-Day War, a war that focuses on or centers on the land of Israel at the end, and a war that results in a prophetic restoration. First the land, then Jerusalem, all according to the Jubilee of restoration. So where's the next one? Again, we're not saying God has to do anything. However, we should be aware. It begins September 2015 to September 2016. So it begins, when the Jubilee begins, it actually begins on a Hebrew holiday. It begins on Yom Kippur. The Jubilee can only begin on Yom Kippur. And that is, again, for someone who always says, be careful about dates, I'm going to give you the dates. September 23rd is Yom Kippur of the Jubilee, of this prophetic Jubilee. Now, go to Isaac Newton.
the man we learned about with gravity and all those things. Isaac Newton was more a biblical scholar than he was a physicist. He wrote more on the Bible, more on prophecy, end-time prophecy. And what he did is he looked at the 77s of Daniel. And he had an interesting interpretation that there would be 7 sevens of years, or 49 years, from the time of the restoration of Jerusalem till this great end-time event. So, Jerusalem was restored in 1967. Now, people have taken this, and we're going to be dogmatic, just interesting. People have taken this, and prophetically, one of the measures in prophecy is that some of those prophetic things that are given are based on a 360-day year. Some of the things in Revelation are based on that, a 360, it's called a prophetic year. Well, they took June 7th, 1967, as is the restoration of Jerusalem, took Isaac Newton's calculations, and made it by 7 sevens, or 49 years of the prophetic 360-day years. Where does it take you? It takes you to September 2015, and it takes you to September 23rd, Yom Kippur, the beginning of the Jubilee.
Wow.
And
it's
Elul 29 also.
Elul 29 is 10 days before. That's the peak of the Shemitah.
Yeah.
10 days later comes September 23rd.
And is a blood
Yom
moon
Kippur.
in there somewhere?
And then the next thing is Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, during which you have the last blood moon, the blood moon period. It all comes together. And on Elul 29, you have a solar eclipse, the wipeout day.